It's the Beat Break Morning Show with Sean Garvey and the crew. You're listening to the Beat Break Podcast.
Remember, anything can happen today.
On the Thinking Out Loud Network. Check out the Thinking Out Loud Network at thinkingoutloudnetwork.com.
It's the Beat Break Morning Show, the Beat Break Podcast. Sean Garvey, DJ Roll'em, and the Wake Up Ladies. I want to say thank you to the guests, all of our guests who appeared on this morning show this morning. We had a very great show, excellent show. Shout outs to Gavin, shout outs to Star Kell, shout outs to Just a Touch of J, shout outs to Steven, and everyone that tuned into the Beat Break Morning Show, the Beat Break Podcast, to hear the great conversation that we had today. I want to switch gears for a moment before we go any further to spend some time to talk about a legend, a great artist, a great poet, a great entertainer that we have lost on Friday, April 9th, 2021. We had a great show. We had fun this morning, but our hearts are still heavy by the loss of Earl Simmons, better known to the world, better known to us as DMX or Darkman X. I work in television outside of radio. And in the television industry that I work in, I work alongside with this young woman who maybe had to be probably in her 20s or early 30s, probably in her 20s. Just like I was, she was hearing all the talk about DMX condition. And she looked around and was listening to everybody talk about DMX being in the hospital, being in a coma, and the rumors that have came out saying that DMX had passed away. She looked around and asked this one interesting question. Who is DMX? I looked at her and I asked her two questions. The first question I asked her was, you don't know who DMX is? She shook her head and said no. The second question I asked her was, what year were you born in? She said 1998. 1998 was the year when everybody knew who DMX was. I remember a time when I was in middle school. This is 1998, people. So I am in middle school, finishing up the last few months of being in the 8th grade and actually getting ready to transition into the 9th grade that same year. I used to watch a lot of music videos, especially hip-hop videos on TV. And this was also around the time when Atlanta radio was still playing a lot of East Coast songs. So on the radio one day, I heard this song from LL Cool J from off of the 1997 Phenomenon album. And that song was 4321, produced by Eric Sermon. LL Cool J had some of the best hip-hop lyricists, artists in the industry on that one song. Method Man, Redman, Cannabis was on there as well. Master P was on the remix. Of course, you had LL Cool J on there. But it was this new artist that a lot of people were not too familiar with. And that was, of course, DMX. When DMX spit his verse, I was literally blown away. I was like, who is this guy? His delivery, his voice, his cadence was so different from any other artist that I've heard. I instantly became a fan. And then after that was Get At Me Dog. The video aired on TV. And it was also around the time where a lot of us hip-hop nerds were used to seeing the shiny suit videos. You know, Bad Boy at the time, and even the Down South artists, you know, the Master P's and Cash Money. It was a balance at that time of seeing that side of hip hop and then the other side of hip hop, but then there was the greedy side of hip hop where DMX showed you what it was like in the streets of New York, Yonkers. Get At Me Dog, the video was directed by Hype Williams, and it was filmed in the Tunnel, which was a club-like atmosphere in New York. Parts of it was filmed in there. And DMX made it known that he is here to stay. It's Dark and Hell is Hot came out in 1998. And it was considered as one of the best hip-hop albums, not of 1998, but one of the best hip-hop albums ever. Songs like, of course, Get At Me Dog, Stop Being Greedy, How's It Going Down, and the Rough Riders anthems. For those radio airplay songs on that album gravitated to a tremendous amount of people that have been so hungry for this type of music to come out from an artist who has been trying to put himself out there and be known for years. He didn't start in 1998. He started rapping a long time ago before 1998. He didn't have no major record deal. He wasn't signed to no major label. He was just an artist trying to get on. And Def Jam was the label that gave DMX that opportunity. And not only for a new artist like DMX to drop his first major album on a major label in 1998, but he dropped a second major label album the same year. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. The song Slippin' was certified to be a song that was not only a hit, but a song that came from the heart, detailing what DMX had been through as a kid, being in an abusive home and being out in the streets and having to deal with the consequences and obstacles of being a black man in the hood, to now people know who DMX is. He's on TV. He's doing big things. And speaking of big things, his albums, which I consider to be classic albums, his albums led him to the other side of the entertainment business, which of course is film. Belly. It's amazing that me and a few of my friends still talk about that movie to this very day. His first acting debut in a major motion picture, also directed by Hype Williams, where he co-starred in the film along with Nas and Method Man, T-Boz, and a few other actors and actresses that also had the opportunity to share the screen with DMX. But the bucket didn't stop there. He went on to make other albums. Like in 2003, he did Grand Champ. Oh, to backtrack, he also put out And Then There Was X in 1999. What They Really Want with Cisco. You remember that song? And then it was nonstop. It was Romeo Must Die with Aaliyah. It was Cradle to the Grave. It was more albums, more guest appearances on songs, features, appearing on TV shows, talk shows, you name it. But just like us as humans, whether we are in the business or outside of the business, we deal with our flaws and our shortcomings. DMX was one of them. We all known him to do things that we never thought he would do. We hear the stories in the media and the trouble he got himself into, having to go back and forth to jail and etc. But DMX showed myself that he is not a perfect man. He is a man of flaws, just like you and I, and he was a work in progress. Fast forward to 2019, 2020. He came back to show us that he still got it. The versus battle that he was in, where he went up against Snoop Dogg in a friendly competition, sharing back-to-back songs, Snoop Dogg songs and his hit songs. It was just so great to see two legends on a viral video like Versus to come together and complement each other's talents. When I got wind of the news that DMX was in a coma and he was in the hospital, I could only just imagine what his family and friends, his loved ones, were going through. All of us as DMX fans were praying, meditating, and hoping that he would make a speedy recovery. I was very hopeful in those moments because I told myself a long time ago that I was going to meet DMX in person for the first time. I have met plenty of celebrities during my career in radio broadcasting and TV broadcasting. I have met plenty of them. But DMX was one of those celebrities that I wanted to meet in person. Now, as I share my story with you guys about how I have gotten to know DMX all these years, it's unfortunate that I will not be able to meet DMX in the physical at this moment in time. Maybe in another next lifetime, like the Erykah Badu song says. But not at the moment. It might come off as a bit selfish for me to say that, but I always wanted to meet DMX in person, on camera or off camera. Just having a thought-provoking conversation with him about life, about things that DMX always wanted to do that he never gotten a chance to do in his music career. I'm always open for those kind of conversations, especially with an artist that I admire and that I look up to as an icon in the industry. I said this on the last podcast episode that here at the Beat Break Morning Show, we like to give artists their flowers while they are alive, or if they are no longer here. It's very paramount that artists like DMX continues to get flowers each and every day. He has given us so much within the time span that he spent with us throughout his music career. A huge contributor to the hip hop culture. A person who went above and beyond outside of music to show that he is more than just an artist, but he is also an actor. And a person who is willing to stop and take pictures with anybody. Even if he has to show up late to a concert or to an interview or somewhere, from what I've been told, he was the person who looked at himself as not a celebrity. In our eyes, he was a celebrity. I mean, more than a celebrity, a superhero with a superhero name, Darkman X. But to himself, he was just Earl Simmons. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends of Darkman X, DMX, as he is in a better place. His music will live on. His movies will always be seen. And he will always have a heart in the hip-hop industry, in the hip-hop culture. And I know that there are other artists, new artists, that have been influenced by DMX that will continue on to carry that torch. R.I.P. to one of the greatest that have ever done it, DMX.
You're listening to the Beat Break Podcast.
Remember, anything can happen today.
On the Thinking Out Loud Network. Check out the Thinking Out Loud Network at thinkingoutloudnetwork.com.